Hello, and welcome to the TrailManners Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Manning, coming to you from the beautiful trails in Ogden, Utah, but connecting you to wherever trail, ultra, and mountain running takes us. We'll bring trail running to life with amazing athletes, discuss the latest topics, epic journeys, and get you stoked for your next trail adventure. We're sharing the moments that make life special, because even a rough day on the trail beats a good day indoors, and nothing beats time spent with good friends and great stories. Catch us here weekly for your dose of dirt, vert, and good vibes. So now it's time to top off your water, grab some cheese curds, and join us for this week's podcast, where we take you deep into the heart of our sport. It's go time. Hello and welcome to episode number 335 of the TrailManners Podcast. The TrailManners Podcast is produced for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at TrailManners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can always follow us on Instagram and Facebook at TrailManners. And don't forget to subscribe, review, and rate us on iTunes. TrailManners would really appreciate any donations via our website at TrailManners.com, and please remember to share us with your friends. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it. All right, welcome back to another edition of the TrailManners Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Manning. Launch date is 11/5/24. We are in November, folks. And if you haven't had a chance, go back to our last podcast. We had Justin Haslam on talking about his Bear 100 experiences and just some fun things about the whole trail running community in general. So it's just a great episode. So go back and take a listen to that. Got a great next episode, not just today, but the next one's lined up. We're lined up through the end of December. Like, we're into January right now, so we got some great guests coming on. But this guest, this is episode 335, folks. Our guest right now was on 104 on November 21st, 2017. Had the pleasure of sitting in Studio 78 at Nordic Valley Ski Resort after she just finished the Triple Crown of 200s. It is an absolute pleasure. So happy to introduce we have Sylvia Greer behind the mic.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be asked again.
I don't know about that.
It really was. When I got your text, I was like, why do you want to talk to me? I have nothing exciting to share.
You have nothing but excitement, and that's just on ultra sign up. That's that exciting.
I don't know about that.
But you're fresh off, literally hour or so off of running 50K. You were down here running the Buffalo Island 50K.
Jim Skaggs
race. How'd that go?
It could not have been better weather.
Yeah.
November 1st, and we're in shorts and t-shirt.
Isn't that
good? It's beautiful. Yeah. It's such a unique place.
And you used to be from our area.
Yeah.
And you're not anymore. You moved out.
I'm not far removed from this area.
You're no longer in Utah. So you live
no longer in Utah.
Where are you at?
That was a big deal. We are in, it's called Smoot.
S-M-O-O-T.
S-M-O-O-T. For those of you that may know the infamous Ty Draney, it is the area where his El Vaquero race starts.
Beautiful area.
Star Valley. It's south of Afton, and we absolutely love it.
And you work on a farm.
I work on a farm.
My wife is jealous. When we saw you at El Vaquero this year, and you mentioned that, she's like, hasn't stopped talking about it, if I'm being honest.
I love it. I love the farm. I pinch myself. So I decided to leave teaching and go to the farm, and I am such a happy person.
Give me example. What do you do on your farm? Like what? Because I grew up on a farm. My grandparents had a farm.
You did?
I did. Not a lot of people know that, but that's where I got my work habits from.
Yeah.
And my love for chickens.
Chickens. Eating them or raising them?
Trying to gather their eggs was the first challenge. They didn't like me so much for quite a while.
They can be pesky.
They scared me, to
be
honest.
They can be very scary.
Yeah. And then I milked a goat, so that was kind of fun. That's where I learned those skills. But what's your farm like? What do you do?
So it's a dairy farm.
Okay.
It's Shumway Farm.
Okay.
And actually, it was tradition after El Vaquero to go get their ice cream. That was the reward. Did you ever go to Shumway Farm to get
No,
ice cream?
Ty Draney. loser. When I
You
started.
didn't?
No, I don't remember when my first one was. I've done it 6 or 7 times, but there was no
That is
ice cream.
literally, that was so after, that was our reward for after,
Okay,
our
after-
personal reward, not Ty's reward.
No one's told me about this place, and people that listen to my show know I'm a dairy guy. I'm a cheese curd
No.
connoisseur,
Yeah.
and ice cream's not
It's
far
a dairy
off.
farm, and it is changed my life. So they do homemade ice cream there and yogurt that that will change your life.
What?
And there are cheese curds, raw milk, chocolate milk.
I'm super
So
disappointed in
I
Ty
help-
right now.
Yeah, I do the ice cream, and we help with the yogurt, and I do the chocolate milk on Mondays, and I help fill the milk. It just is such a good environment, and I work with the best humans on the planet. The Shumways are amazing people.
Well, I know my wife's going to run El Vaquero in 2025,
Yeah,
so
so you
apparently
need to
I'm going to end up at Shumway Farm somewhere.
I know. Next time I'm down here, I'm going to bring you some yogurt. I have some in the car. I'm going to give it to you.
Man, this is the best show ever. I could end the show right now just to get yogurt, and people would be
It
not
really
happy.
will change your life. My mom's not a yogurt person, but when I come down to Utah, she says, I'm happy to see you, but I need yogurt.
I could see it. I'd be the guy saying, I'm
From
happy
the
to see you,
farm.
but I need the cheese curds. That's
we have cheese curds
that's
there.
my weakness. So
Oh, man, I wish I had known.
So what else is going on? I'm gonna do this, and this is sometimes might embarrass a guest,
Okay.
but they can't see if you do blush.
Okay.
Since you've been on our show, I'm naming a few, and this will help you realize
Okay.
what you've done. And this is just what I can find online.
Thanks, Eric.
Since you've been on the show, first of all, you've done one of the greatest races I've ever seen before. It was the Nordic Valley 7K. So you did that right
Absolutely.
after our show.
Absolutely.
You've done running up for air, 100 miler at the Antelope Island. You've done the Gib Wallace race, which is another
Yes,
one of the TrailManners
another
events.
incredibly well put together race.
Scout Mountain 100, River of No Return, which we'll get back to, Palisades 100, of course, El Vaquero, UTMB, Nordic Valley again, the Drift in Pinedale, Bryce Canyon, River No Return again, Beaverhead 100K. I'm gonna skip some of these smaller races. Palisades 100 again, River No Return, Wyoming Range 100, Bad Cat Ultra Distance Triathlon, 239 miler in Bend, which you finished first and second overall. Crazy Mountain 100, Tour de Jaunt, Scout Mountain 100, Crazy Mountain 100, Scout Mountain 100, Crazy Mountain 100, and PTL. Like, you dig that long stuff.
Oh, it's because I'm not fast, so I just have to go longer to try to be. I don't know.
Well, would you tell me when you got here, like, there's a lot of running on that 50K today?
I did the 50K. I thought this is more running than I do on my 100. This is a lot of miles in a row to run. It was funny.
So what is it about, like, that 100-mile, and I'm going to say plus, because as I mentioned before, you did the Triple Crowns of 200s,
Yeah.
which you were the first female to do it, and
Yeah.
first overall that year. What is it about the long stuff for you? Because, Tour de Jaunt, UTMB, PTL, and that's just what's here. I'm sure there's more that I don't have on this site, but what is it about that distance that keeps you going back?
That's a good question. People ask me that. Why do you do that? And I sometimes feel like my answer doesn't satisfy them too much. But I can't believe how this sport has enriched my life. As far as the places that I've seen are places that I feel so lucky to look at. I know so many people that don't go far from their sidewalks or don't go further than their cars can take them. And these longer distances have brought me to areas that I feel like some people have never that so few people will set foot on.
Sure.
And I feel so lucky that it just fills my soul. I love the challenge. I love the people. There's something about suffering with other people because sometimes it is so horrendous and awful.
Oh, yeah.
Like I have the highest high. Everyone who does runs on these trails knows you have the highest highs and the lowest lows. But I feel like it makes me a more resilient person. I feel like it makes me a more patient person. I feel like I just have met some of the greatest humans and have seen the most beautiful areas. Doing these longer distances, it's a little bit smaller of a niche, I would say. It's growing. It's
Sure.
growing for sure. But I love what it does for me. And sometimes I hate it, but every time I finish, I just feel so lucky that my body allows me to do it, that I get to meet these amazing people on the trail at the aid stations. You just feel like there's not a better community, you know?
I don't know how that wouldn't satisfy somebody, because I'm sitting here being in some of those experiences, not to the distance you've gone still, but it's the same. I tell myself this a lot, and then when I'm with my wife, when we do something that is far from a trailhead, right?
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I wonder how many people get to see this. And then there's like the seasons, right? So it's like I might see it in the spring, but it looks different in the fall. And I think for me, that's what that does, because there's places we go that you cannot get to unless you're on foot. Exactly. Sometimes could be a bike, but mainly you can't get there on a car.
No.
Not just like where your car can take you, but how far are people willing to venture out before sometimes you have to turn around or go back. So you see, we talked about how life has grown and structure in cities and buildings, but when you're out there, it's not, right? It's still outside and very limited in access.
And I also feel like I never want to be comfortable with or complacent with where I'm at, or ever lose my awe for this world. And I feel like trail running and those distances satisfy all those things. And my mom she's just, why can't you just do like a 5K? Why do you have to go further and further and further? And I don't know, it's something in me that just thinks, because I want to see what I can do. And I don't want to be complacent. I want to challenge myself and see what I can do. And I have failed plenty, but it's interesting. I feel like through the failures, I've learned so much more about who I am than I don't know. It's such a satisfying thing to me on so many levels. Yeah. And
So-
I'm a nicer, much more happy person on the trails.
You appreciate it. You get all the because when I talk to people and your name comes up, like, it's so funny that one of the first things I hear out of people, and it's not even people that may know you well, but a name or something, and they're like, oh my God, she is so tough.
Oh my word.
Because really, I mean, you started down the 200-mile, the long stuff early. Like when it started to come around, it was new. So, and I remember when we had you on our last podcast I don't remember because it was 2017. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, but
right.
But
no judgment.
It was so new still.
It was very new.
I mean, I look at the results, and the first 2 years of the Triple Crown of 200s, there were no females. It was all male, and there was like 12, right? And now that's a lot different than it used to be.
They sell out.
And the time
lottery
has lowered, so things are faster.
Significantly.
But when you first started doing it, you really took that distance in general by storm. Like that's where really it was like Sylvia Greer, oh man, she can do this. And it wasn't just like these 200 milers, like we mentioned. You did some stuff in the snow, you did some team stuff, the UTMBs. I mean, you weren't limited to, a couple 200s here. That was kind of your niche for a while, is the long, big, gnarly, scary, hateful. I'm in a bad place, but I'm going to do it again, right? I mean, that's where you were just synonymous with that before most people were.
Wow, that's the huge compliment. That's very kind.
Well,
thank you.
How do you with that? Like, why are you so tough? Like, what seriously? Because that's a big thing with any distance. I don't care if it's a half marathon and people struggle because it's their big race, or 50K, 50 miles you go up. But what gets you through those dark times in big races?
Oh my goodness, that's a big question. I'm pretty stubborn. I'm stubborn. And I have expectations for myself. I don't like to let myself or other people down. I was raised by amazing, hardworking parents that were so supportive, but they started us doing hard things when we were little. We worked hard, and I was raised by kind of hippies, like clean hippies. They showered.
Like hippies, but they were clean.
Showering hippies. But my dad always brought us in the outdoors. And I did my first, in the Wind Rivers, I was 7 and did my first 50 miler with my little backpack. I think I just had snacks and maybe some socks. But it was a big deal.
Jeez.
But my parents put a lot of effort into getting us outside, because that's where my dad thrived. And so much of that was instilled in me very early. I used to kind of I grew up in Park City in a time that is not like it is now. My parents have been there for about 40 years, and it was very different when
Sure.
we grew up. But we were still surrounded by a lot of wealth, and our family was not. And so we would go camping or river rafting or backpacking while my friends were going to Europe. And here I'm thinking, oh, this sucks. And now I'm so grateful. But I think a lot of that work ethic, my dad is an incredibly hard worker, as well as my mom, but a lot of that was instilled in me. You just do it. You just finish what you start. My dad would say there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad preparation and bad gear. And I'd be on a chairlift and it's blowing and freezing and you're crying and your tears are freezing. It's like, well, just grit it out.
Should have big, thicker socks.
I know. Gosh. Yeah. So a lot of my upbringing, and I like to push myself to sometimes levels maybe that are not regular, but I don't know if that answers your question, but
Because it sounds to me a little bit, and I've had this discussion with somebody else, not on the podcast, but when people talk about, and you see it all the time through, signage and inspirational quotes, is step outside your comfort zone, right? Mm-hmm. But do you think for people like yourself, outside of the normal comfort zone might be your comfort zone? Because that's where it's where your memories come growing up. Like how many 7-year-olds are doing a 50-mile backpack trip, right? So where people look at it as uncomfortable, for you, that might be the place you're used to, right?
And
it's
I
a little more
don't
normal.
mind it. I mean, sometimes it's awful, and I think, what is wrong with me? Why do I do this? But then it passes. You just put your head down, keep going forward. It passes, and then you think, okay. And a lot, I feel, I guess it might be okay to say, I feel like I have a growth mindset. I just, like I said, I don't want to lose the awe or get complacent with where I'm at, because then you stop learning and you stop growing. And these long distances for sure do that for me. And sometimes I think, I'm super blessed to have a healthy body that allows me to do this. And
Sure.
Sometimes I think, I bet someone who doesn't have the ability to get out on these trails, or who's in a wheelchair, or would love to feel pain in their legs like this, so kind of put in perspective. I chose this. No one made me push register. I brought this on me. So this is no one's fault but my own. And I like to finish things that I start, whether is awful or not. And I've not finished things, and it haunts me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can see that. But I think too, like you're showing, because you talked about your parents and how hardworking and where you kind of drew that from. Now on the reverse side, do you feel like because what you're able to do it shows your family that you can do hard things?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah. My kids are a little bit jaded and they hate running. And that's a lot to do with me, my daughter. So we're trying to go to the Grand Canyon and do rim to rim. She ran her first marathon, and this was just this summer. And I said, "What? You want me to help you train to run a marathon?" I said, "Am I being punked right now?" She said, "No, I want to do it." And I was so elated because my kids say my 1 mile is actually 3 miles and my not running is running. And so like we would go sledding and they'd be like, "Where is the sledding hill?" It's just up here. They're like,
It's around the corner.
I've lost a lot of their trust. And so they hate running, but they're coming along. And I do hope that as they've gotten older and they're adults, they do see the value in what I do.
But how exciting is that though when she approached you about the marathon? I mean, for a parent, you're
thrilled.
Like, well, because this year, my 19-year-old daughter said, "Dad, I want to do Malin's." And she's not an outdoors kid. Like, she doesn't hike. She's never been that way. Kind of same thing. She'd show up to my races. She'd have the fun, but she's like, I have no desire to run.
Yeah.
Don't want to do this. And all of a sudden this year, she's been hiking a lot. And she's done Malin's more than once.
Wow.
Yeah. And now she's like, I want to do Lewis and then Ben Lomond.
Is she going to do Rufa?
Probably not, because that's winter time too.
Winter changes things.
We can't come too hard and fast at her.
We don't want to lose her.
But I remember the first time, and she's like, "Dad, I want to do Malin's." I was like, almost in tears.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've never pushed her to run. I've never pushed her to hike or anything else. But it's like, man, it's so neat to see her. And Malin's, if you're not familiar, is like. It's almost 2 miles, 2,000 feet of climbing, basically.
It's intense.
And it's pretty rugged, but the payoff's huge. And in our area, Malin's is like the thing, right? Like that's a rite of passage.
It is.
But hearing your child say that, it made me proud. And then when she did it, she's like, "It wasn't as hard as I thought." Now that upset me because I'm like, your dad strokes out on that hill, and you're like, "That wasn't bad, Dad." So that's kind of fun when you're able to hopefully
share that with them.
Yeah, and hopefully like share the lessons and your lifestyle and the hard work and turns around to see that. And then again, they do it and like, it wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
And it's like, it usually isn't, right?
Yeah.
When you finish something hard, you're like,
worth it.
That was hard, but maybe not as bad as I was thinking it would be when I got into it.
Or if it is hard, you hope that they think it's worth it.
And realize I can do hard things.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can do
Absolutely.
those things. So with the distances, like you just did a 50K and you did a lot of running.
That was too much.
That was too much. I hear you, especially on the island because you got to run. And when you're not running, you're like, I should be running, but you're like, I don't want to run. Where's the hill? Where's the climb? What can I do? Do you prefer like that more the vert and the climb and the grind?
Yeah, I feel like I'm more consistent with it. The shorter distance, I feel like I need almost 20 miles sometimes to warm up.
Wow.
Yeah, not 20. That's an exaggeration. But
probably not when you're talking 200 milers.
Yeah.
20's an aid station.
Slow and steady, keep the head down, push forward. I'm more of the longer distance kind of a person.
So
and the climbing,
helps with that, right?
I love getting to the top of a peak or a summit and you just, oh man, you forget everything that was down there to get up there.
The payoff, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to have a guest on starting in January, and we're going to track them through the year. They're doing their first 200 miler. They've never done a 200.
Which one are they doing?
Bigfoot.
Okay.
So what, and there's people out there that for sure are jumping into that world, right? It's kind of a progression for some.
Yeah,
now they've got 300 milers,
100.
Right? What kind of advice or what would you tell somebody that's toying with their first 100 that there could be some intimidation and unknowing and just looking at distance, elevation, and average time it takes someone to finish?
100 or 200?
200.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What kind of advice would you have somebody that's toying with that idea? 200 miler.
you need to realize that it's very different from 100. So you have to be smart about your pace, about your fueling, and your feet. And then you have to make an effort to sleep. In 100, you can go without sleep, but it costs you in the 200.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to dial in your nutrition because you can't fake 200 miles.
That's funny because me and Jolie say you can fake a 50K, maybe a 50 miler, but you can't fake 100. And you're like, you can't fake a 200.
Nutrition is, I mean, even a 50 and a 100 miler can destroy your race. So you have to train your stomach and your body to consume the calories that you need to go that distance. You can't just show up and
wing
your
it.
body. Yeah, your body has to train for that. And also a lot of time on your feet, not necessarily fast time, but the amount of time on your feet. And by the time you get past your first 100, your miles, well, if you're someone normal like me, get slow. And it can be frustrating. You have to be patient with the time it takes you to get from aid station to aid station. These are not aid stations that are 7 and 8 miles apart. The Bigfoot, they're 20-mile sections. And if you think about your pace for 20 miles, especially in the night, it can be 8 hours out there.
Wow.
And it feels, mentally, you feel like, what is taking so long? So you have to be comfortable with going slower and how to navigate that amount of time without aid. Sleep deprivation, you can't really train for that. My suggestion is always, at least every 24 hours, you need to have some sort of sleep.
Wow.
Like I said, with the 100 miler, you can go over 24 hours without sleeping and not have the same consequences. But these are 3 and 4 day events, and you start to lose. You start to lose your sense of balance. It starts to get dangerous. Little things, people get lost, and they could be right by the trail, but they don't. If you don't take the time early on to sleep, you really pay the price. And so I tell people, every 24 hours, you need to close your eyes for at least 20 minutes, which sounds so absurd that would reset you.
Yeah.
And it truly is the worst part of you lay down and you open your eyes and you think, what am I doing with myself? But that 20 to 45 minute is the magic number for me. And it does reset your brain. Your brain starts to play tricks on you. It gets delusional. Like I said, it even can affect your balance.
Sure.
And so nutrition and time on feet is huge.
Well, and nutrition for these races, I haven't done a 200. Maybe I'm interested, maybe not.
Okay, talk to me later.
But nutrition's so different too, because you see
Very
the aid
different.
stations and they're full
on meals.
Meals, hamburgers, pizzas. I mean, they're not pierogies and
No.
quesadillas and
You need
sausage.
substantial
Yeah.
food, and you do have to train. It's so strange, but I would, I would eat a full meal and then I'd go out on the trails and not necessarily do fast running.
Sure.
But eat and go. You need the calories. These are 17, 20, sometimes up to 25 mile sections, and you need the calories. I can't do these on gels.
Yeah.
My gut shuts down.
Sure.
It's not the calories that your body needs. It's like your body needs like these slow burn calories, right? Because, and you have to find what works for you.
How do you train for that? For me, it's like, okay, I'm going to head down.
Question.
Yeah, I'm going to head over to the pizza shop and then I'm going to walk home, right?
That would be awesome. That's a great start. I
I would have to get a hydration vest
Yeah.
and be super Kickstarter style and make it be able to carry a whole pizza safely. I think that would be my ticket to do something like that.
There's a see a need, fill it.
I'd stuff
You
a
know,
burger in
let's
your
talk
pocket
the
and
Hydra.
keep going. Yeah, because that's
Ultraspire.
yeah.
Do you have a pizza attachment?
What do you call this one? I call this my DoorDash pack. Like, this is how I get things done. But it seems like for me, the same thing. Like in a 100-miler, if I know I need to eat real food and I'm at an aid station, you can eat what they have, and then I usually am like, hey, you better walk out of this one because you don't want to upset your stomach, and maybe there's a climb, so you're okay to walk. But where you're in a 200, it seems like if you have these quote unquote meals, it's going to take a little bit for you to kind of get going again. Because I think when I run in the mornings, I don't put anything in me but a cup of coffee before I run, so I'm not used to having food.
Yeah.
Right?
Your body can feel sluggish, but also you're so depleted typically in calories that all of a sudden you feel like a human again. And you're not moving maybe like Jose or Michael McKnight. This is coming from the middle of the Packers. So they may have a different scenario, but I remember once eating 3 hamburgers at one of the aid stations. And
is that something you could just do on a normal day of your life, though?
Oh, heavens no.
That scares me because I like food. So, at an aid station, can I have 7 to go?
Well,
Let's
think
do
about
this.
all the calories you're burning.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, your body needs it. But to answer, I don't know if it answers your question, but so to train for it, the consistency for one, I think that's the biggest thing, is not all of a sudden, let me just cram in 3 months of training before I know I have this race in 3 months.
Sure.
It has to be consistent for muscle memory, for just
Your
consistent.
feet, right?
Yeah, your feet. But what I was the most effective for me is I would do long back-to-back runs.
Sure.
So, excuse me, in upwards of 20, 25 miles, start that later in the evening, and then go home, eat, sleep for 2 to 3 hours, and then get up at an awful hour and go out and do another 20 plus miles.
That's a little different than a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday run.
Because you're running at all hours of the night. So most people it's typical to do an all day into the night and into half of the day. But you're running morning, night, morning, night, morning, night. And your body needs to be able to function at an hour that you're not typically up.
Yeah.
So that, I feel like, was the most helpful for me, is doing these back-to-back strange hour training runs.
Getting your body uncomfortable.
With very little sleep. Because you're trying to train yourself to function and move in fatigue.
Gotcha.
And your muscles. Because our bodies have a natural time clock. I should be sleeping, but no, you won't make cutoffs. You have to keep going.
There's no sleep.
And bring a hamburger and a pizza.
This is maybe I will run a 200
I know.
miler. This is my kind of race.
Right?
So what have you seen then at that distance? Like I said, early years, 2017, you doing it. What changes have you seen now? I mean, you mentioned earlier just the sheer number of people doing it, right? What are your thoughts? Has there been more changes besides more races, more people? But
there's more people interested in doing that race, but there's also more knowledge about how to train for that and nutrition.
That's huge.
It was such an unknown how to train for that, nutrition. I think that's the biggest thing. And people have just been able to excel and do so well at it because there's more knowledge.
Sure. And
people can give feedback, and this works, and try this. I wish I had done this. We're so much more informed, educated, and we have a way to be able to see people through online and social media, and they are telling their stories
Sure.
and what worked for them, and it helps progress the sport. So every new leap in a sport, like you look at Olympics and how skiing and jumps and half pipe, the things that used to be a big deal even 3 years ago, people push that boundary.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that becomes the norm, because we're constantly learning and progressing from people and learning how to train our bodies to do these things to advance the sport. And I feel like that's what trail running is becoming.
Well, I think it's interesting when you look at like a 50K trail distance, then you have a 50-mile trail distance, 100-mile, and then we say 200. You don't see the same names at the top of the leaderboards in those categories, right? Like the 100-mile runners that are knocking down course records and all over the place. You don't see them in the 200s or maybe doing well, but you also don't see like the people like that are finishing high in the 200s, finishing high in the 100-milers.
Yeah, it's a very
like it's almost like each category has people like, okay, this is my spot. I found my spot, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm not fast, so 50Ks aren't for me, but man, hundreds, I can gut it out and I can finish here. And then now you've got this 200-mile distance, and now there's, like I mentioned, there's a 300-miler coming online next year, and that doesn't even include.
I looked at it.
It doesn't surprise me. Yeah, but that doesn't even include like the stage races and all those different things. But it is something I think people find a place they're comfortable with.
I agree.
Or feel more confident maybe in what their abilities are, and it's like, oh, this is my spot. And you see them excel.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a fun part as well, is seeing that distance thing. Like, I haven't found my distance yet. That's for sure.
That's not true.
I haven't yet.
I don't believe that.
Yeah. It depends on how far we put the fridge. I can walk over there and back pretty well. Not a problem at all.
Oh.
What about trail running in general? So we've talked about the distances. You've been doing it for a while. You've been all over the place doing it. Europe. What differences have you seen just in trail running in general?
The amount of people that can do it, that are doing it and partaking of it. Our life is so busy, it's so crowded, and the mountains is solace for a lot of people. Nature, it is for me. And for some reason, when I see the trails get more crowded, I have this ownership, like, hey, what are we doing on my trail?
I've never seen you before. I've been out here for years.
Yeah, but and I do think that social media, you see these amazing places that people go, and yeah, why would you not want to go there? I have envy and FOMO, and where is that? I want to go to that peak. And I think that when people see that, I don't want to say average Joes, but I think that once something is accomplished by someone else, that gives people more confidence that I could do that.
Sure.
It's like breaking these barriers. People can run a 200-mile, and it's not all running.
Most of them aren't. Any race really
That is
not
the
all
secret.
Yeah.
I don't run 100 miles or run to, but all of a sudden you remove this barrier, and people now think something that's impossible is now possible. And then you see the people that are doing it. It's not just Olympians.
Yeah.
I mean, a regular mom here, and it gives people, I could probably do that. I want to try that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's something that we've put, and I was just on a panel for something else just within the last week, and someone asked me about trail running, and I said, I think what people need to realize is trail runners aren't special, right? Like, you can do it.
Regular
right?
people.
Yeah, you can do it. It's just a matter of believing you can. I think you nailed it. When somebody sees someone accomplish something, then you know it's possible. Mm-hmm. And then you've got this other group out there that's always like you just talked about, I want to push my limits. How far can I go? What is my limit? Whether it's speed, time, pace, just whatever it looks like. So I think you have those different realms, and then just how easy it is, right? 15 years ago,
yeah,
people had no, like you mentioned the 200s, people didn't know how to train. You had to, you couldn't.
Or that's even possible for a human to do.
Yeah. And then like 20 years ago, you wouldn't even, probably not even that long ago, but you never saw places because there wasn't pictures online. So places that we see now, like I'd love to go there, probably you didn't know existed, 20 years ago.
Yeah,
it was like that pockets piece. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So that's always a fun.
And our trail systems are amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, they are. Their trail systems are pretty good. Most everywhere, to be honest. But yeah, I like ours.
Particularly here in northern Utah.
Northern Utah. Well, let me ask you about this one, the PTL. So
wow,
you did this one.
Yeah.
How many years ago?
It was last year.
Last year, so 2023.
Yeah.
Right?
Last summer.
So I wasn't, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't super familiar with the PTL because there are so many races out there. I'm horrible with acronyms, and I still don't know what PTL stands for, even on their website.
I did it, and I don't know petite. I don't know what it stands
Pretty
for.
Trail Life. That's what I think it stands for. Pretty Trail Life. I mean, it doesn't tell me online, but to give the listeners, it's a UTMB race.
It's in Europe. Yeah.
And the distance on it shown online is 186.4 miles. Mm-hmm. Just 82,000 feet of vert.
The vert is on
82,000. That's more than I've done the last 2 years combined. Chamonix. And you get 151 hours to do this. But it is a team race.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And navigation. Okay.
So it's kind of like, what are those? Adventure racing, right? So you had a team you were on. How did this happen for you? I'm always interested how these teams happen. Like someone saw you and it's like, oh, we need this person on our team. We draft them. Like, how's this work?
So I did Tour de Jaunt the year before in the same area. It's a similar trail. If you have not been to Europe, their mountains make our mountains look like knolls. They are just steep. They don't believe in switchbacks. It's no wonder that the Europeans kind of dominate the trail scene. Their trails are intense. Yeah. So I did Tour de Jaunts. That is one that and it was in 22. That's one that you have to get in a lottery. You have to have enough stones.
Points. Yeah, I still understand the stone system.
Well, that's actually UTMB. Tour de Jaunts, you have to have a qualifying race, and
gotcha.
Kind of the same as UTMB. The percent of nations that sign up, if there's 20% of Americans that register for this race, then 20% of the starting. I don't know what it means. I got in. Okay, so let's just skip that part. I'm sorry. I don't know why that felt necessary. It's complicated. So there's very few Americans. So when you do see an American on the trail, you're excited because you can talk to them and cry.
Yeah, cry in the same language.
What have we done? So there was an American there that I was kind of leapfrogging with for a few 4 days. We kind of were the same pace. He had tried PTL and was not able to finish with his team. So he reached out to me that summer and said, I feel like I could finish PTL with you. And I looked at it and it looked crazy. So I was like, count me in, because that's what I do. And so I just knew him from Tour de Jaunts. And so he asked me to register for PTL, which you do need a navigation experience and distance, which my navigation came through the World's Toughest Race Eco Challenge from Fiji. So I had that, and they accepted our team. So I was super intimidated, but it was a little bit more comforting knowing that you had someone else, that when your two brains are only half,
You get a full.
you get a full.
I like the math on that one.
I didn't, yeah. So this was a person that I had met over in Europe and had reached out to me and felt like we could finish as a team.
Okay. And it is.
So I guess I was kind of recruited.
You were recruited. You were drafted. You were picked up. Was your
First
teammate
pick.
not from the area either? So
From Texas.
Okay,
He was
wow.
from Texas.
wow.
Yeah.
Vert training there's got to be not easy.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because there's vert in this one.
Yeah. Oh, incredibly steep technical vert.
So
with no trails.
So then you had to navigate, and again, I'm horrible on the UT. I think UTMB could do a better job with their websites. So if you're listening, there you go. Hook it up.
There.
But is there? You go a certain distance, and you have. I know you have aid stations, but do you have like places to stay? Right.
So they're called base camps.
There we go.
And they're huts
Okay.
in these mountains. They're not necessarily, so you could go a day or even a day and a half, 2 days. So you're carrying a lot more gear.
Okay.
There's required gear. You have to carry a lot more calories and plan for that.
I think my pizza backpack would probably be a good option.
You are
there.
on to something. So the aid station, so the huts act as an aid station. They know we're coming through. They sometimes have food and sometimes you buy it. So you get meal tickets, but you're limited. So you have to think, because over on the Switzerland side, it was much more expensive. So we tried to save our meal tickets, and then you have to carry money, and you just order what they have because you are literally on the top of the mountain in some of these, and you're like, whatever you have as far as calories.
I'll have some grass, some
Can't
soil.
say that, but I'll take 3 of those. So you go it's pretty far between these huts. And the base camps, you have a big duffel bag, and they go from base camp to base camp.
Okay.
And you see those maybe 3 times through the race.
Okay.
So it's not very often, but that's where you resupply the food that you've brought.
So you can bring your own, just like a drop bag kind of.
Yeah. It's pretty tricky, though, to navigate because there's some areas that you kind of gauge how long it's going to take you, and you can be way under or way over, and you only have so much space in your pack. And also you don't want to be carrying a 40-pound pack up these mountains. So it can be tricky.
So it sounds like that event, more maybe than most, the planning is almost just as important as the training.
Yeah.
Right? To make
Planning.
sure, especially if it was like your first time to do it, right? It's not like you were returning to do the PTO. It's like, this is my first shot. I've done some other adventure racing, but I mean, this is a lot
And it was
different.
all trail. It wasn't staged. So it was very similar to Tour de Jance.
Okay.
So I felt like that really prepared me for Europe and the intensity.
What's the distance on Tour de Jance again?
It's a 330K, so that's going to be about the same. And about the same vert, too.
Okay.
If I had not done Tour de Jance, PTL would have destroyed me.
Really?
I knew what Europe dished out after that, and they have very different food, and that kind of threw me off at first. A lot of meat and cheeses, and which is delicious, but sometimes I know.
Sounds
you
like
need to go
heaven
to
for
Europe.
me.
I
Like,
know.
jeez, man, I'm in the wrong place for this. I roll in, they'd know me by name. Hey, there's our guy.
Incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. But it did feel like Tour de Jance on steroids, or it made UTMB feel like a 5K. Wow. It was.
Was this the hardest event you've done? I mean,
Absolutely.
It's not mileage-wise, it's not the longest, but do you think because of all the variables of vert and, planning and everything else, was that the hardest thing you've done?
It was the hardest because I didn't know my partner too well, and it was tough. I feel like I get along with most people, and I'm a happy person. I didn't know this person very well, and it was tricky.
Yeah, I bet.
I I got left. I got timed at aid stations.
So are you supposed to stay together for like?
Yes.
Is there a distance?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't get so far apart then, right?
Yeah.
So it's similar to those. Okay.
But got left and wasn't allowed to carry the map and the GPS.
Gotcha.
It was tough.
Yeah.
So emotionally, it was probably the most I have ever felt. So physically, it was a level that was so intense.
Sure.
But then, so when I did, the furthest I've done is the Eco Challenge, and that was next level.
So how far? Give us an idea.
That was over 600 miles.
Oh, that's not bad.
So it was Bear Grylls. It was Bear Grylls race.
Okay.
But that took us 11 days. But the biggest difference is I had team members that were incredible.
Sure. And there's multiple in that one, like four.
There's four. There were four of us.
Okay.
So
How'd you get drafted for that one, real quick?
Same. They needed.
Did Bear call you?
So totally. Using my cell phone. No. So it had to be. It was 4 team members, and there had to be one of the team members had to be opposite gender, and so most teams were 3 men, and they're like, we need to find a crazy lady. And I literally did
Luckily, Google it, and there you are.
I know. I literally did not know these people before, and I got a message, and again, I thought I was being punked.
Man.
And I looked up, they're like, we're doing this adventure race in Fiji. We heard that you do these really long distances and you like to do this. This friend of mine told me to call you. And I was like, yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And then I called Heath. I'm like, I'm going to Fiji with these 3 men I've never met. It's going to be 11 days. Is that okay?
He's like, yeah, why not? I guess. Yeah.
Do I have a choice? I'm like, no, I'm doing it. So, but the emotional support that I received from that, they were incredible.
Sure.
And so it was interesting to physically have it be just as difficult, but then like emotionally, I felt it just wore me down more than I've ever been worn down.
Different emotional, right? It's like number one, what you were doing, like on itself,
so
even if you're there
intense.
by yourself. So you got the intensity level there.
Yeah.
And then you throw in variables that you're probably not used to dealing with during an event. So it's like, how do I navigate this feeling? Because I know you see people that are very close friends, sometimes spouses, partners, whatever, and pacing in a race, right? And they're like, I can't have them pace me ever again. We almost got a divorce, or
whatever I say after mile 63, it's not true.
Yep.
So I tell my husband.
Yeah.
So I mean, just the physical aspect of it wears you down.
Sure.
And so that was tricky. But so I felt like that was a huge accomplishment for me that I was able to get done. But I tell you what, that was some of the most beautiful area that I've laid my eyes. It was just
PTL area.
And
pretty trail life. That's what it stands for. It's got to be.
Not a trail, but literally areas that I don't think any human has been up here. I'm going to die up here. But yeah, amazing. I would for sure do it again. But yeah, those partner races can be tricky. Just at least have know what the other partners their expectations, and train our Fiji group trained together. We meshed really well.
Nice.
We kind of knew beforehand, and it was a little bit different because we were in different states, and so there's just communication, and we only had run together at a different race, and you're not with them, so you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you're on your own, but but it was incredible.
Favorite event you've done then so far? Name one. That's it. You can't say 2 or maybe others. You got to just say, boom, this one. Favorite event.
Oh my gosh, that's like choosing your favorite child.
You can do that too, but I'm not going to put you on the spot. I know the first name just popped to your head because it happens to me.
I would have to say the Eco Challenge in Fiji.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because of all the variables probably too, right?
Variables and the people on the island. We would show up to these islands that had never seen Caucasians or other people in general than their village. so remote.
Wow.
And it would be 2 or 3 in the morning. You would knock on their door, 4 strangers that look like death. They would let you come into their house. They would give you their beds.
Man.
They gave you their clothes because Fiji's wet. You are wet all the time. And they would feed you whatever they had in their houses. And then they would sing to you.
Oh my gosh. You have done some of the coolest stuff.
These people are the happiest. If I had someone 4 people come to my door at 3 in the morning, I would call the police.
Oh, yeah.
And they give you their house.
We call that trick-or-treating after the last couple nights, right? Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to somebody, Jeremy Sawinski, who did an event that was through Tennessee, I think it was.
Okay.
And kind of similar. You just have to get to one end or the other, and he's like, I met some of the most amazing people.
Other people.
Yeah, he's like, they would give me everything.
And
they don't have to, and I didn't know them. And
yeah,
I always like to hear those stories because
my word.
Everybody looks at the world differently, but there's a lot of good people out there.
Such good people. There's more good than bad.
I think so.
We just hear more about the bad.
Well, not here. We don't. We talk about the good here on the TrailManners podcast. So what's next for you then? Do you have anything next? I mean, it's pretty tough when I talk to people on the podcast. It's like, oh yeah, I've done this. Then my next one is this one. But you, it's like, oh, see, I've been all over the world. I've kind of done it all. But what's next?
Very untrue. I had to cancel quite a few races this year. After Crazy Mountain, I had extreme rhabdomyolysis and almost kidney failure. So the year didn't go as planned. And so I'm still kind of recovering from that.
Okay.
It took a toll on my strength. So I am kind of playing it by ear. I would love to go back to Europe. When I did Tour de France, we were stopped with 11 miles to go because of the weather.
Okay.
So that was so heartbreaking.
Sure.
I would love to go back and finish that. I got a finish.
Yeah.
But to me, it did not feel like a finish.
Sure.
Literally, we were at one of the huts, and it was more distance to run down from that hut to the next village than it was to finish. So that was so devastating.
Wow.
So I'd love to go back there to Europe.
Okay.
And do that. This year, I have a last man standing race.
Oh, nice.
That's something that's always intrigued me. That's very foreign to me.
Okay.
Again, pushing those limits,
Sure.
finding it comfortable. I have no.
Those are taking off like crazy now too.
Crazy.
We had that 200-mile scene, and now you got the last man standing type
It
stuff.
will be interesting. It's in the winter too, because why not?
If it's gonna be hard,
for myself.
How much harder can I make this? Oh, you have to run backwards. I'm in.
You have to shovel on your way. So I have that in December.
Okay.
I want to do Rufa. I wasn't able to do that last year, so I'd like to do Maylands.
Oh, nice.
I did say they added a Moab one.
Yep, they did.
So
That's
that looks
later
cool
in
to
the
me.
year too. Yeah.
April, I think.
Yep.
So I'd like to do that. But I would like to get back to Europe.
That'd be great. I'd like to get there. So.
And then Crazy Mountain is on my list.
I would like to do that race.
It is an incredible race.
Yeah,
Megan.
that buckle looks phenomenal.
Oh, well, did you know that you get it's a new buckle every year?
That's even better.
So that's one of the reasons why I was so stubborn and got so sick. I was like, at Crazy Mountain, I was like, I have to get my 3rd year buckle. Like, this is...
That's amazing.
So I finished and I got my 3rd year buckle, and then I spent 4 days in the hospital.
Jeez.
But so I need my 4th year buckle. I started the 1st year, and I will go and
That is cool. I want to do a race like that, even though
it's cool.
Yeah, I'm always asking anybody know a 1st year race coming out. It'd be fun to do that. So.
But the crazies are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Megan DeHaan. She does, and her team, they are incredible. She puts on a spectacular race, so that's for sure on my list.
Nice.
Palisades 100, they're doing this special invite race that I got invited to.
Nice.
It's like...
Because Putz is gone.
So they're kind of doing... So I was the first woman to finish that the first year. They changed the course.
Yep.
Because there was only 2 finishers, me and Pam Reed.
Nice.
So
Good company.
I know, right? So I have that, but it's an unsanctioned like gathering.
That's all right. Those are fun.
The original 100.
That's cool.
Mile course. So I have those a lot up in the air, but I mean, November 1st.
I know so much open today too.
I know.
Like I was like, what am I going to do next? I'm piddling with ideas. So like River No Return was one of those ones.
River
I'm like,
of No
they haven't announced the
Return.
date yet, but I'm looking at that as potential.
Beautiful. It runs closer to, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's beautiful though. And a fantastic race director and
That's always makes
beautiful
a difference.
area. Beautiful area.
Yeah. There's
Highly
so many,
recommend that one.
so many things, so many races, so little
things.
time, and so out of shape. So
And-
a lot to juggle.
And you also, races are becoming more expensive.
Oh
so.
my gosh, there was a race I won't name that me and my wife were going to do, and it opened up and it was $500. It's a 100-miler, but I know
It was
races.
100 miler?
Yeah, it was $500, and I thought, man, I know it wasn't that expensive.
No,
before.
they're usually in the 3s.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I know there's a cost is going up, but it was
Yeah.
just I've never.
You kind of went,
I'm not a 200-mile runner, so 100 miles my distance so far. So I've never seen something with a bigger price tag. So I was like, huh.
must be a big buckle.
Yeah, I'm like, huh. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not.
Well, do Megan's Crazy Mountain one.
Yeah, that's
That
one.
buckle's
If
rad.
anybody, I'm going to pay somebody on that one first. So I'm always
Okay.
looking for that.
Well, I'll
option.
be there.
Yeah, because I want to do that.
And I go slow. Don't worry.
Yeah. What does that mean? I can't keep up.
No, that'll be a good time for you.
All right. Well, hey, we are going to I have a few rapid fire questions
Oh,
for you.
dear.
Super easy ones.
Okay.
These are always fun for me and
Hopefully my
probably
brain
nobody
can
else.
function.
That's all that matters is they're just fun for me. This is
your show.
This is the enjoyment I get out of
Yeah,
it.
this is your show. You do what you want to do. You call the shots.
So they're just whatever happens. You ready? They're super
Yeah.
quick. They're not hard, I promise. We'll
Okay.
start with an easy one just to
Okay.
get us moving. Do you have a running or racing superstition? Something you have to do every race or run. Something that same socks. Put on something.
I have my race shirt. It's game day shirt.
I love that little
Yeah.
game day shirt. I like that.
It's a party shirt. It's super happy and it makes people happy and it makes me happy. Look good, feel good.
I like that. Look good, feel good. Bucket list race or adventure you still need or want to do.
I want to be able to finish Hurt
Okay.
and PTL again.
Okay. Wow. Going big. Do you have any pre-run or pre-race routines? Same meal, same anything?
So disorganized.
Really?
No, I do not.
I like
I'm a
that.
mess.
That's so crazy. You would think you were like dialed.
You would think it would be a necessary thing. It's
No.
not. I'm
But-
like, whatever happens, happens. I can't change what is happening out here. And if I try to control it, I think that I would go crazy.
Sure. Best advice you've received on running?
Make sure you're running your race and not someone else's.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
That's important.
It is.
That's really important. Would you rather have a course record or an FKT?
FKT.
Okay.
Because you're doing it for, yeah.
FKT. All right. Favorite trail running shoe?
The Solomon. What are we wearing? Speed Cross. Oh my gosh.
That's all right. It still can be your favorite.
Sorry,
That's all
Solomon.
right.
I
That's all
have
right.
not. I've been in that shoe for
A long time, huh?
6 years. Yeah.
What's your favorite part of trail running?
The people.
What do you wish someone would have shared with you when you first started running?
Don't let setbacks discourage you.
I like that. Last one. What have you learned from running?
Oh my goodness. Resilience, humility, patience, kindness, empathy.
I like that. See, that wasn't hard, right?
Kind
Pretty
of.
good. Not really. It was easy for me. I just had to read a piece of paper.
These are deep questions.
Well, I'm
but
so
good. I appreciate them because I get asked all the time why I do this, and sometimes
I think it changes sometimes
it does
based
change,
on
kind of in the
moods.
season of your life too.
Yeah, why do you do this? And sometimes I'm like, I have no idea.
I know. Sometimes
Or
I'm like,
I don't.
the worst idea ever.
Yeah, I had an extra $500 in my pocket.
Totally. Always extra money. Always.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am to have you back on the podcast.
Thank you.
When I saw your name pop up on the start list, I'm like, okay, if she's got a few minutes to burn before she goes home, I'd love to get you on because I love doing in-person ones. We will be doing remote ones because it's a necessity, but in-person ones to me are the best. That's what we've always thrived on here. But thanks for taking the time
Absolutely.
to come back on the show.
Pleasure.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
I'm definitely going to have you again because it's always fun to catch
you.
up, and you do the stuff that I'm like, I don't even know
so-
what she's doing, so I better do some research. You make me think. I'm like, that's not normal.
Not normal.
No. But yeah, thanks again for coming on. Have a safe trip back.
Thanks so much.
Really appreciate you being here. So
Thank you.
all right. Thanks for listening to the TrailManners Podcast. This was episode 335 with just super special guest, Sylvia Greer. Don't forget to tune in next week. We do have some Christmas gift guide shows coming back out here in a couple weeks, so stay tuned to that. Otherwise, check out the show notes online. We have donations. You can get discounts on products. There's TrailManners merch. And please give us a rating and review on iTunes or Facebook. That always helps, and I love to hear from you. So again, episode 335. We're into October 2024. Sylvia, thank you so much.
November.
That's why I said, November, huh? I said October.
You said October.
I said July earlier. So I don't even know what day it is. But yeah, we're in November. So hey,
November,
what is that?
but one day into it.
We are when we're recording this. So it's 111. 11124. That's how we do it. So thanks again. Thanks for listening to TrailManners Podcast. Hope you tune in next week. My name's Eric Manning, and we are out. Thank you for listening to the TrailManners Podcast. I'd like to thank Sylvia Greer for joining us once again today. I also want to encourage everybody out there to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at TrailManners, or swing by the website at TrailManners.com. There you can click the donate button or check out the store page for some cool TrailManners gear, and both donations and purchases sure help the show. You can always hit us up on the contact page or email me at trailmanners@gmail.com and let me know what you'd like to see, who you want to hear, or even if you'd like to be on the show. Plus, I always enjoy hearing from you. Also, don't forget to share us with your friends, or if you take a minute to subscribe to the show and leave us a rating or review on iTunes or Facebook, I'd graciously appreciate that. Don't worry, we'll have all these links in the show notes. Until next time, this is Eric Manning still reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.